size of teams being optimal. So Scrum says 7 plus or minus 2. That's based on research. There's some other research that says, hey, you can have 5 for best deep, really deep communication, and 15 give you really deep trust. So, but you can have too small of a team that can't really effectively get anything done, and I have too large of one that gets bogged down in how it's actually making decisions. So I can have these influences that are going on. So I want to sort of keep my team size somewhere in here where it's going to be greater and equal to 1 and helping me, and get them outside of these, keep away from the outside size because they're not really helping me. It's probably working against me. So that's one thing I can do to get modifiers on my capacity. Another one is, again, going back to what promotes or negatively affects. I can take a look at these. These are reinforcing loops. So if I allow people to do experiments, or I hire for diversity, so I get diverse opinions and so forth, or I have a clear vision that I've laid out in a participatory manner, I'm going to get a positive multiplier that's going to help me. If I punish failure, or I only reward successes, or I hire yes people, or I give them say their only concern is your performance on your job. I don't care about you as a person. Whatever you do outside of life is whatever is your problem. I don't want to hear about it. That's going to work against me because I'm not viewing people in a way that's helpful, right? Because teams are made of people. So again, that's going to further restrict my capacity. So lastly, remember I said some things are experiments, so we're going to use a little bit of science here. So some things, I've got this Kanban out there, but it's going to be an experiment that I'm moving through. And how do I measure an experiment? Well, I need to create a hypothesis for my experiment. All scientists create hypotheses, and it consists of 3 different variables that I want to do. This is borrowed from the lean startup community for those people that are familiar with it. I'm going to have some benefactor that I think is a primary benefactor for my idea, my hypothesis. I have an issue I think I'm solving, and I have a solution for it. Out of that, I'm going to have a set of assumptions that are around that. I need to make those assumptions explicit, and I put them right on my board. And I figure out which one is riskiest, and that's going to be the first one I'm going to pull over here. I'm going to design an experiment that will test that riskiest assumption, and I'm going to get a result out of that experiment. And it's either going to invalidate this set of 3, benefactor, issue, solution, or it's going to validate that it's okay. If it invalidates it, I'm going to change one of these variables. Maybe it's the issue that I'm trying to solve. So I'll change what issue I'm trying to address. I'm going to take a look again at my assumptions and pull out the new riskiest assumption. If it validates it, where they're all correct, I'm going to take a look at is my next assumption, my next riskiest one, something I really need to test, or is that a pretty low probability? If it's a low probability, I have a valid set of 3. If it's not a low probability, I need to pull and run another experiment. So each time I have to change one of these, it's known as a pivot. So that's what the P's are for. And I'm going to keep track of that. Once I feel like I don't have really risky assumptions here, then I have something that's a valid hypothesis. I can say I've measured it, and I can move on to actually implementing that. So that could then become an implementation path for perhaps my next movement along my Kanban board. Lastly, I want to enlist aid. Besides rolling this out, starting in small part of the organization and rolling it out, but knowing that it's a strategic decision, I want to create a support network. I can't do this alone. Whether I'm the CIO or somebody down on the team, I need to create a support network. So I need to find like minds, and I need to pair with them. And the reason I want to pair with them is I can use them as a sounding board for making decisions. Hey, is this the right thing to do for this situation? I'm running across this problem. Do I need to make a change to the way I'm approaching this? Better yet, try to form a triad. Find 2 other people that are like-minded. When I work with the sounding board, the third one holds a commitment. It says, here's my commitment I'm making between the 2 of us. You're now going to hold us accountable to that as a third neutral party. And when I grow my network, and want to find out other people that are like, I want to grow out pairs and triads, not try to find other singular folks out there, preferably, right? And there's a great technique out there called NetMap. Definitely recommend to do it. The whole idea of triads comes from The Culture Game by Dan Mezek, a recommended read. So, lastly, I'd like to close a little bit. There is a lot of hidden assumptions and biases we bring when we're coming through here. Everybody's got mental models probably formed through the culture that we've been engrossed in. So we need to be aware of these. We want to be careful of using these. Here's a couple. Hey, people just don't want to change. They're always going to resist it. So then I would have to ask you the question, why particularly in retirement, some people are willing to move all the way across country to a place they've never lived before, or maybe move to a foreign country. The hint is there's something that's unlocking their passion in there, and you need to do the same. You need to find out what the touch of that passion is and how it's meaningful to them as far as organizational transformation, if that's what you're interested in doing. If they've been doing work this way, find out what connection you can make to those people so that their passion is connected back to the actual way you're trying to move. Because people are willing to do a lot of strange things out there on their own, and that's because there's something about their passion. They'll take up new hobbies, all sorts of stuff. Lastly, I've heard this thing about scaling, and I agree that you want to think about scaling, but I think more fundamentally though, before you try to scale to a large program and try to apply Agile on a large program, ask the question, why do we have a program? Why is it a program in the first place? Why is it large? Nobody really does that I've seen. Everybody tries to put the solution onto it and whatever practices or stuff they want to do. Could it be solved with a set of smaller applications or in other ways, smaller solutions? And I would say, take a look at why programs are formed. Most of them are formed because of not reasons that have anything to do with technically or sometimes even business sense. They're based around budgets. Hey, it's easy for us to win a big budget. Last organization I worked for, when I was a Govy, they basically said, hey, we did it because we only have to do security paperwork for the one thing. Yeah, but we have to do it every time, and it's hard, and it makes our budget problem complex too. Yeah, but we only have to do the paperwork once a year. All right, I'd rather do smaller amounts of paperwork on smaller scales multiple times. So we had a program when we really should have had a suite of applications and dealt with it on a larger reason. So the rationale that went into that decision, again, probably steeped in habits, needed to be changed. So when people say Agile this way, I really want to try to help you folks by adopting a good Agile culture and understanding that you have to deal with the satir change curve, take off while most of the other folks go over the cliff. We don't want to be lemmings here, or at least we want to be very advanced lemmings. And I hope you have a good flight. So here's my contact information and ways to get in touch with me. If you're interested in change and putting, for agility and stuff, please talk to me about the Agile Influences of DC. That's a group that I run that deals with change agents and coaches. Thanks, that's all I have. If you have questions or anything. Oh, and thank you for reminding me. Yes, I have feedback cards there. Please give me feedback. So thank you very much.